Am I chairing this?
Yeah.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, welcome to the Estate Management Committee meeting on 26 September. First item on the agenda, apologies for absence. I believe we've got apologies for Councillors S and N Oakes. And Peter Peel, you say he's got some issues as well. So do we accept their apologies for absence?
I think so.
Yes, they have it.
Declarations of interest. To receive and consider any declarations of interest from members and officers under section 50 of the Local Government Act 2000, Standing Order 35. This requirement only applies in respect of matters which are to be considered by the committee at this meeting. To declare any disclosable pecuniary interests? None. To declare any other interests?
No.
No. Representatives from interested parties, there aren't any. Minutes of previous meetings. To approve the minutes from the previous meeting held on 25th of July 2017. Proposer, seconder. Or any comments?
I've had a look, it all seems to be in order. I will propose it.
I'll second it.
All those in favour?
On each page. Okay.
To approve the minutes of the extraordinary meeting on the 4th of September. Any comments? Just as I remember it.
It's just we must make sure this is absolutely spot on, in case we have to, as it were, use it on some occasion.
Yes, I'm happy with that. I will propose them.
I'll second them.
I was there, but I was only observing, so
Yeah.
am I allowed to vote or not?
If you weren't there, you mustn't.
No, I wasn't.
You were there.
I was only
Yes,
observing. I wasn't on the
observer.
committee. I wasn't on the subcommittee at that time. So
Ah, right. Of course not.
But I've just seconded it.
You seconded it?
Yeah.
All those in favour?
I don't know if I can or not yet.
You can.
If I can.
We'll allow you to.
Thank you. Right, the first item is to consider the current preschool lease and grant a deed of variation on the current lease to ease the rent increase. And there's a letter saying we can vary the lease, and there's also a sort of cash flow statement from the
Yeah, there's a cost attached to
Yeah.
doing a deed of
On the preschool.
variation. And then I've also got their budget from them, which shows obviously that they are in deficit. So if we increase their rent to what it's supposed to increase to, which is about £12,000, it's going to knock their deficit even higher.
Well, even at the current rent, they seem to be in deficit.
Yeah.
Yes, they're
Do we have
struggling.
any clues as to why they suddenly haven't got any children, or less than they need? Because it's always been very well used.
Some of the ones from last year will obviously have reached the age where they go to primary school, so they would have lost one crop. But you'd have thought there'd have been another crop to follow on.
I don't know how they marketed for this year's intake, so I don't know.
I don't know. But I'm not quite sure what we're going to do about there. About their rent, it's clear they can't pay what's in the agreement.
I'm not sure. It's true they're not paying what's in the agreement. I'm not sure what they're doing about it.
They paid last year what they could, didn't they?
They've paid it less the VAT
Yeah.
because they're saying they're VAT exempt. So at the moment that shows as outstanding in the account, which is about £2,000.
So the rent due for this year is, I thought it was 9,000.
No, it would go up to 12,000 this year.
So this item on rent and rates, which I think will be in our cash flow or in our accounts.
No, that's their accounts, isn't it?
No, but not our accounts last
Yeah.
time. Was 9,100 for rent, I seem to remember.
Yeah, and it's due to go up to 12,000 in their third year, which is this year.
Okay.
They'll have been here 3 years.
Which would have started,
September.
Mm.
So they owe, if you like, 2,000 from last year. Now they're due. That's why we need to look at it, so that before we start issuing them invoices at a vast amount, knowing that they can't pay it.
Have they always paid VAT? Or is that,
I think they have in the past, but we have got an exemption letter from them because they're a charity and they have proven that they don't have to.
yes, that's really
Pay
what I'm asking.
VAT.
So is part of the deficit also VAT?
The deficit on their old invoice for the previous year is purely VAT, so that's fine, that can be dealt with.
Yes,
What we're now dealing with is this year's rent.
yeah,
Which
that's
is due
really
to
what I want
increase.
to know, how much they...
So we accept that, do we? They're not.
Yeah, they've produced a letter from the Inland
So
Revenue.
they're not in deficit for last year,
No, we can
and we can
sort
deal with
that
that.
out.
I'm not sure. I wasn't sure how you could deal with that, but you can you? You can.
Yeah, we can, can't we? Because they've got proof that they don't have to pay it.
Well, just because you're VAT exempt doesn't mean you don't have to pay VAT. It just means you're not charging VAT on your services and not claiming it back. I'm not quite sure.
They should be recovering that if they're VAT exempt. I mean, I've been involved with lots of organisations that claim the VAT back.
Yeah, but that's not VAT exempt. I mean, that's
Well,
not. I mean, if they're not VAT registered,
yeah.
then because
Which
I mean,
they're not, no.
I'm involved with an organisation. It's not VAT registered, so we have to pay VAT and everything, but we don't claim anything back, and we don't charge VAT on the services we offer.
No,
So,
no, you can't charge VAT
Yeah.
on what you're offering.
but normally you're still liable to pay VAT on services you receive. So I'm
Yeah.
not sure if we're going to end up having to pay the VAT to HMRC on the services that we provided. I'm not clear at the moment whether or not we can.
I think we must look into how we're
I take
registered
your
for
point.
VAT,
Yeah.
Yeah,
because I believe local authorities, there is a way that we can register so that we don't charge VAT on some of these things. I remember being a tenant of a council once, and it was stated in the lease that they had the option of either charging VAT on rents on shops or not, and they reserved the right to do it. It had been a council decision that they reserved the right to charge it. But some of the tenants of some of the shops were saying we're start-up businesses, quite small, and it would help enormously if we didn't have to pay VAT. But the council insisted they wanted to charge the VAT to everybody. But I know, however they were registered, they could have avoided it. Now it might be that we can look into that with HMRC, and we can look at whether or not we have a way that with our charity organisations, and the school is one of them, that we could avoid charging them the VAT, but we'd have to charge it on true commercial customers,
Yeah.
like anybody doing it for profit, like the ballet school, for example, or the baker who comes and runs classes in the Ashton room, or any of these corporate clients that we're trying to get.
Yeah.
They would all have to pay
Yeah.
VAT.
Okay. So does someone need to consult an accountant then or something? Have we got can someone advise us on that as to whether that is liable?
Yeah.
I think the fact they're a charity might actually affect.
Yeah.
we
Not
have
just
talked
our
about this
choice.
before,
We have.
you and I have talked about this a lot.
What
Yes.
happened to the chat? Or was chat
Yeah.
registered? Sorry, volunteer action.
Volunteer action paid, don't they? And we've always thought we shouldn't.
Right.
Yeah.
We charge them VAT because when I went to their annual meeting a few weeks ago, I couldn't understand the number they'd got down for rent.
Yeah.
And when I got home and worked it out, what we've got in our books was 4,810, I believe was the figure. They got 5,572 or something like that, a difference of about £900, and that difference was exactly VAT, exactly accounted for the VAT on the rent.
Yeah, yeah.
So they were showing amounts gross of VAT in their accounts because they hadn't VAT registered and therefore they couldn't claim it back.
Yeah.
So we're going to apply this rule to all charities that we rent property to, presumably.
Well, we'll have to find out
If
from
we're
HMRC
able
What
to.
their view
whether
is.
such a scheme
Yeah.
exists and whether we can change to it.
Yeah.
And it might be that there might be constraints on changing over which might not be economic for us. We'd have to look into it.
Okay.
But I think
So we're instructing Hanukkah to look into it.
I think it would be pointless to terminate the lease of the preschool without first, I mean, because they might come to that if they go on not being able to pay.
Well,
them.
they're on their third year, and the third year allows them a break clause out of that lease. if
So
they
we
decide.
could decide then to make it
I
lower.
think the break clause is on their part, not ours.
it is, yeah.
What we need to basically decide is, do we go for this deed of variation, which alters that rental increase? I suppose, don't
I
we?
think we need the deed of variation. The question is how much? How much is the new rent that we should set? And
What?
that's
Why? Well, just trying to get my head around what the options are here. So, rather than going straight for this deed of variation, what's our position with them? I mean, are we saying that that they should be paying a commercial rent and that's what the fair rent is, and that if they weren't paying it, we'd expect to get it from someone else? Or are we saying that it's a community service that we think we're supporting, and therefore if we have to forego some revenue, it's something that we want to do? I mean, I'm not quite clear what we're doing here.
when they were in here for years. They were in here long before we had the building, and I think they had a very low rent. Mind you, it was virtually a derelict building, and they occupied a lot of it. They spread out all over it, I believe.
Well, eventually they weren't
Yeah.
in a lot of it to start with.
No, well, there were other tenants in here in the early days, but they gradually spread over a wider area because one of the things we had was constraining them in the bit that they now occupy because they wanted more at one stage. But when we moved them out while the contract was going on, and I think we made arrangements for them to go down to the rugby club. And they stayed there for the duration of the contract, which was a year or 2 years. They were down there. Then they came back up here.
About a year, was it? Yeah, it wasn't the 2 years.
They came back up here, and then the council met with them. The head of estates and the clerk met with their committee, and on the advice, I think, of our agents, our property agents, who had given us figures for a commercial rent, a document was drawn up whereby they would gradually, over a number of years, have an increase in rent until they reached the commercial rate. And why on earth they agreed to that, I don't know, because they must have known back then that there was no way after about year one they could ever hope to meet it. They started off at something like £6,000, it goes up to something like 14,000. So they must have known that within year 2 or 3 they would have been in trouble. But the agreement was signed and they returned to the building. But last year they approached me and said they were struggling. They offered to produce their business plan, which we've still not had, have we? We've not had a proper business plan from them. And they've had no one really to produce them one. The two Councillor Oakses were going to go and help them produce a business plan. Both of them having been bank managers, they've done business plans for lots of firms wanting a bank loan to start a business, so they would have been ideal to do that, but I don't think they got very far with doing that. They had a meeting with me last year, and I told them that we must expect at least, and Estates agreed with this last year, that they must pay us at least what it was costing us. We weren't going to run it at a loss. So provided they paid us what the room was costing us, you know, that was better than nothing. That was acceptable in the short term, but we would have to look at it and look at this lease and sort out what was going to happen with this lease. Now, Councillor Chappell has always been adamant that if you've got a lease, you should observe it, and I can see where he's coming from with that. But if I've had this myself in the past, where I've seen tenants with what's called frustrated by impossibility. They haven't got anywhere near enough money coming in to ever pay it, so it's hopeless having a lease. You might as well tear it up on both sides and start again with something that is more realistic.
I'm still not clear where the council's position is on this.
Yeah, I'm still
because,
coming to it.
No, because
Yeah.
I don't know what, they're in their third year, you're saying, there's a 3-year lease, so their lease is going to expire anyway, presumably at some point.
No, it's a 5-year lease.
5 years.
They are allowed a break clause in year
Break
3,
clause after
which
3.
they're coming up to.
And obviously they're not paying what they're obliged to pay under the terms of the lease, then they're in breach, so presumably we could evict them if we wanted to.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm trying to get my head around, is I can't understand what we're saying here. Are we saying that we think, as a council, we should be subsidising them with below market cost rent in order to provide the facility to the town? Or are we saying that, no, it's a commercial organisation, well, it's not, it's a charity?
I think it's a charity,
Yeah,
so
okay. So are we saying then that,
Yeah.
you know, that
they should be covering the costs of the room.
they should be covering
Yeah.
their
Do you know what the costs of the rooms are?
We worked it out last year. It was about the 6,000, 7,000 is what the cost was last year when I looked at it, and that's why they paid that amount, which coincided with the net of VAT figure. But what we agreed at Estates last year was we certainly would not want to get in a situation where we're evicting the preschool. They are a service to the community. They, being a state-run preschool, they are getting some of the pupils that the others won't take.
Yeah.
They're getting the more difficult cases where they've got to have a higher ratio of staffing. So they've got problems. And what we had said last year in Estates was that provided we're not subsidising it, provided we're covering cost, we were satisfied with that in the short term, but something's got to be sorted. So I think we're getting rapidly to the point where something's got to be sorted.
Because the other thing is the government's withdrawn the funding, hasn't it, from...
Well, they're not sure what the funding's going to be. It keeps changing.
Yeah.
It's like the pot keeps going up and down into education. So at the moment it's looking bad, the pot, but in the future it might be good again.
And with respect to Roy, when you said about they shouldn't have signed the lease because it was going to be too expensive, that's what we asked for, and now we've reviewed the cost of the room. The lease was unrealistic in any event.
Yes.
We should never have been presented with it.
Yeah. And I have...
Well, I thought the lease value was given, we were advised on that lease value by an agent. Didn't you say that you with someone had said that was what was a reasonable fair rate?
Berries agreed that in the first place. They said what was commercial. Yeah. But you see...
So I mean, if we decide to waive the commercial rent, then that is a cost that the council is accepting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Is that within our limit to agree, or is that for the full council?
we've done it at estates before, but maybe we need to go to full council with
I
it.
think if we're going to reduce income, we need to tell
What
I
we-
think so.
Yeah, I think so. What I brought up previously at finance and at full council and at estates in the past is we've got a number of these either amenities to the community or charitable organisations, and they are struggling for funds, and I personally thought it was wrong to charge them a full commercial rent when, you know, their limited resources could be better used for the community. So provided they're covering the cost of what it costs us for the rooms, then that would be enough. And we make the money on the commercial concerns where we do charge a commercial rent, and that's what we've done with the courthouse, where we've now got the museum, which is heavily subsidised by the council, and Chat, which I'd like to see their rent go down because they're charged way over the odds for the 2 little rooms they've got. But the other tenants, the money we've got coming in from the other tenants, apart from these couple of extreme bills that we've had recently, for one for a large amount for roof repair and a large amount for a lift repair, what is the normal running costs of the place, and a proportion of those special costs over the life of them, provided they're covering that. You know, we thought in the past that was enough for the others to be paying.
Well, according to these, as I read these figures, they couldn't even pay the costs of the room.
No,
So there's,
no.
I don't know what reserves they've got to pull it
I
out
don't
in the
think
mean.
they've got any
They haven't got
reserves.
any
No.
according to this. There's
So
no
it's a
reserve.
one-way
No.
ticket, isn't it? But
Yeah.
it looks like. There's no possibility of reducing their rent by reducing the amount of room they occupy, like taking out the Ashton room.
We could take that back, but they had to have that, I think, in order to provide a certain number of sessions a year of, I can't think why preschool are doing cooking, but that was the argument, wasn't it, that they
No,
had to,
I've never seen them cooking.
They eat
They
their
do.
lunch in there, yeah.
they have their lunch in
There
there,
are
it's
certain
definitely-
things they have to do
Yeah,
in order to qualify as a registered um, enterprise.
If we took it back, can we take it back? If we took it back, could we reduce the rent?
it would only reduce it by a
Well, I mean,
small
I
amount.
think it's one way of doing it.
They only pay a fraction of the Ashton room anyway, from what Emma was telling me the other day.
50%.
50% of it, you see.
Well, that's quite a big fraction, isn't it?
And we also give them a proportion of what income comes in from that, which we agreed at estates last year. So, I mean, this has really hit us, the fact that their income has gone down so badly this year. What we need to know is this going to continue? Is this just a short-term blip?
I mean, it's a personal opinion here, but it sounds to me like what we actually need to do is to go back to them and say, what's your business plan, which you said they haven't done yet, and what can you afford, and then see whether that fits with what we think we should be charging for the room. But I don't really see why we want to try and agree a new lease at a lower number. I would have suggested we've got to have a plan first. They've got to have, because if they're never going to be able to meet the rent, then either we're faced with subsidising them forever, or else they're going to have to, face reality and come up with a different solution, aren't they?
But we imminently, presumably, have to issue a new rent bill, is that right?
Yeah, we do.
My attitude would be issue it as per the existing lease, and that, knowing that it won't be paid. But I mean,
Yes.
and have that conversation with them and says, look, you know you can't pay this. but that's what the current lease is. What's your plan? Where are we going?
I think they
Yeah.
need help with it.
Yeah.
With the plan.
With the
I
plan.
did that last year. I mean, at Estates we agreed that we would only charge them what they could afford and set the lease aside. At Finance, Councillor Chappell didn't think we could do that and instructed the finance officer to bill them for the full amount. I was given the bill, I took it to them, and you know they've paid a part of it. They paid what they could afford. But it looks as though what they can afford this year is a considerable amount less than what they could afford last year. That's not a situation either side can go on with. We really need a meeting with them. And the trouble is, when I say a meeting with them, there's Gina who runs it. She's got a couple of teaching staff down there who help her. And she's got a lady who comes in a couple of days a week, part-time, and does the bookkeeping for her. She's supposed to have a management committee made up of the parents, sort of a PTA arrangement, and nobody seems to want to be on it at the moment. So she's doing everything herself and putting in lots of time and effort to try and keep everything flying, and nobody seems to want to step in and help. And the ones who were on it before, of course their children have grown up, they've gone, so...
But she needs to come up with some sort of structure. We have to give her a structure. You just got to come back with some answers within a certain period of time.
Yeah.
And you know, I hate to say it, we've got to put the pressure on her to get it sorted out.
Yes.
Well, I think
You know, I mean, it's not really up to us to sort it out. She can get her help. She must know people who can help her do a business plan. And
Well, you say that hasn't happened. We've been asking
no,
for one
well,
for
that's
years.
why we have to start putting a
put it
time
in
limit.
writing in now?
Yes.
and
Sorry?
What if we put it in writing now and give her a time limit?
Yeah, that's what I'm suggesting.
I mean, because her problem is she's a paid employee, but she's not the management committee.
No, she's not. No.
Well, there must be
It's
somebody
a
who's
dire
responsible.
situation.
So who do we write to? Her or the management committee? Who would we write to in the management committee? There must be somebody.
As the chair, surely.
Yes. Do we know who that is?
Who?
Is Judy Potts still the chair?
I don't know.
No. She still helps out occasionally, but I don't think she's officially part of it anymore. From what the last conversation I had with Gina, Gina is really, you know, totally confused with it all because nobody seems to be stepping forward to be on this management committee.
But she must be responsible to somebody, surely.
you write some checks.
Exactly.
Yeah. Who pays Gina?
Yeah, somebody must.
So if we find out who that is and then write to them and explain
I
where they
think
are.
what I'll do, since I know Judy Potts very well, is get hold of her and say, look, let's have a talk about this.
I don't think it's confrontational or
And we've got
put
to-
pressure on
we've
them.
got
We
to
just
have
need to have a plan.
Absolutely.
I think we should be supportive as we can possibly be,
Yeah.
but we can't just sort of wave the rent, can we?
No.
Without.
And also, we can't wait forever.
Yeah.
We need a response. So
Yeah.
I think we, about putting pressure on her, we do have to set a framework.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so the framework will be, we need a business plan within what period?
Yeah, because in a way, we can't set aside a lease or a variation because we've got no idea in the future what rent they can
Exactly.
afford. We need a
Yeah.
5-year
Yeah.
plan. Almost.
Yeah, that's why we can't do this deed of variation because what figure are you going to put in it?
So
This is the
how
problem.
long are we going to give them to come up with a business plan? We're giving them all the time already.
A month, it should be plenty, shouldn't it?
Oh, we could say by our next meeting.
Yes.
Which is in a month.
That gives them a month, yeah.
We all,
Yeah.
we all agree this? Yeah.
Yeah. We write them a letter and ask them to come up with this business plan.
Right. Next item, are we finished with this? Yeah. Next item on the agenda is to consider and approve an amended size and a design for maintenance workshop and approve a contractor. I don't know if you could brief us on this, how they could
Yeah,
do
I've got, as you know, Charles got 2 quotes originally. So I went back to them and asked for a slightly bigger measurements, which is the quote you've got. And then I also got this quote from Stamford Storage, who are local and build sort of prefab buildings rather than the steel building that we've been looking at. So it was just to give us a different option.
Excellent.
Martin has done a plan of what he thinks they need.
Oh, yes, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry.
I can't call him by his other name because that's not right. And has worked out everything that is currently in the workshop and the measurements,
Right,
and has obviously worked out what needs to go where,
yep,
and the fact that they need obviously a toilet, a storeroom, a tea room as they have now, 2 double doors because they're hoping that both vans will go in. Got
yes,
the trailer, the mower, all the racking.
yes,
So he's worked out, we gave him 3 possible measurements that we worked out.
yes,
So we've got what they've got now,
yep,
slightly bigger, and then the biggest, which was 16 by 12.
yeah.
And what's the current size, please?
16 by 8 is their
by
current
8.
workshop size.
16 by 12, so it's 50% increase.
Yeah,
And he thinks that's what they need. If
Yeah.
you look at it, the way he's put it all together, they can't possibly fit everything in where they are now.
no,
The next size up, it would be very tight, so they might as well
Okay.
go for the biggest option. It would give them a bit more flexibility as well on, you know, if they needed a slightly bigger kitchen or a bigger storeroom, they
Yep.
could have it. So he has worked out that we need to go for that third option. So we need to decide tonight, do we agree with that? And then look at the quotes that fit that size,
How
and
much
then take that forward to the rugby club.
How much extra
Right.
does it cost, the bigger option, rather than less
Well,
like the big one?
I think the
Rules
ones
are
you've
different.
got show
Yeah.
you the differences in sizes.
They do, actually.
And then obviously we also need to factor in the concrete base, the because these buildings come as steel buildings with the roller doors and the roof and everything. They don't come with any internals.
right,
So you have to have a price for a concrete floor, having utilities laid on, which are down at the rugby club, but obviously we'd need our own connection and meters and everything.
yep,
Also building a block storeroom and tea room and putting in the other facilities that we need, like the toilets and the wash basins and things. So all of that needs to be factored in.
Sorry, is 12 by 16 or 14 by 16? We've got 14 by 16 here too.
No, I think 14. We didn't do 14. The biggest we went for was
That's what
12.
it says, yeah.
Oh, I asked for 12. Didn't we?
This one's 12 by 16. There's 2 different options.
Yeah, the same
Construction.
company. And you've got Cyclone, who's the other company.
Okay,
So they've given you,
so we ignore the 14 by 16.
unless you want to go for 14.
The boys don't need it.
This first one is that 12 feet by 24 feet. That's not what we're looking at.
Is this Stamford
16.
Storage?
Yeah,
Yeah, I would ignore that because that building is not what we're looking for. If
Right.
you look at it, it's not a solid building, it's got all these walls.
It's a lot of money as well.
There's a
Yeah,
lot of money,
yeah.
yes.
And
Yeah,
yes, this
it is,
comes with
yeah.
your kitchen and everything built in, but it's more like one of those mobile classrooms.
right,
So it's more of a prefab, whereas what we're looking at, the other two are steel
yeah.
or workshop buildings like we've got now.
Is he suggesting we have a lot of those modules?
Yeah, which I
Because-
can't understand because then you've got a wall that
Yeah.
connects, so you haven't got your space and you haven't got
Can't
the
drive
roller
your van
doors.
straight in, you haven't got the big workshop area.
I didn't think it would work.
No,
No.
So I would say we discount that one and then look at the other two, which are what we actually require.
so the others have done the 16 metres by
You've got
10 by
12
12 as we
16.
requested then.
Well, you originally got the,
16 by 8 we originally got.
yeah, and now you've got the 12 by 16 here. from Cyclone,
Right,
and then from Miracle you've got the two, as Malcolm said, you've got 1 by 14 for some reason, and 1 by 12 by 16. Why is it? Yeah, so 16, and that's with your roller doors.
right,
So you're looking at about 44,400 for that one.
right.
And
What's
this
the
one,
option with the
again,
two?
there's no erection costs on the second one, but there is on the first one. So they would supply it, or they would add another 10,000 to put it up. Well, I can't see us putting it up, so we probably
Sorry,
have to
I'm
factor
confused
that
about
in.
this.
I think
Yeah.
we'd need them to construct it.
I do.
Yeah,
And
We
we
need
need
them
a
to build it.
separate quote for the concrete pad as well,
So
which we
we
now
would.
know what size it will be.
Cyclone steel buildings, it would cost us 6,990 plus 29,935.
Yes.
And that is 16, I can't see where it says 16, oh it is, says 50, yeah, yeah, okay. So it's about £36,000 anyway, roughly.
Yeah,
Just
to
over-
actually
just
get you a
over.
building, and then you
37.
need to add your
Yeah.
costs for your infrastructure and your utilities.
Yeah.
yeah.
Miracle Span steel buildings, they've got two options, two different standards, haven't they, I think?
Yeah, that again relates to the amount of insulation, isn't it?
Yes.
That's
Yes.
what's different.
There's
Because the other thing to consider, which we looked at before, was how we would heat it. We talked about gas industrial heaters.
Yeah,
That's something else we'd have to factor in.
big gas space heater in the roof. Ideally, to heat it quickly. It's no good trying to do it with radiators. It will take all day to heat up, I think, a space like that.
The Miracle Span steel building one includes the erection cost, doesn't it? Because it says to supply and install, so I presume that means erection.
I think so, yes. So that's
So-
12 by 16 on that one.
Yep,
So that's 37, isn't it?
yep.
Yeah, the second option is actually cheaper than the Cyclone one,
second option's not insulated.
but obviously.
Mind you, it doesn't say the cyclone one is
Yes, it
insulated,
does.
does it?
Yeah. Cyclone one says 60mm composite sheeting. So this is page, you can see, page 15,
Yeah.
building specifications, more detail, 60mm composite. And the other one is uninsulated and 40mm, so actually the Cyclone looks cheaper and better spec.
Do you know anything about these two companies? Do you know who's using
No,
them?
Councillor, I think Councillor Best said one of them was used at Prince William School. Is that how he got the details of one
That's
of them?
how he found out about them, yeah.
Yeah,
So we could contact them and see what they've got, what they're using theirs for.
yeah, and if they're happy with them.
On the subject of insulation, following on from this Grenfell Tower disaster, we need to make sure that any insulation that's used is truly fireproof. The fact that these things have been used all over the country leads me to believe that councils all over the country have been led to believe this stuff was fire retardant to some extent, but it obviously wasn't sufficiently fire retardant. We're not going up miles into the sky, but we could still end up with an awful disaster if this thing catches fire on the
I
inside.
think it's got to meet building regulations, doesn't it? So assume, I can't believe that they're offering something that doesn't meet building regulations, and that's all we...
Well, I think the case with Grenfell, the good building regulations weren't adequate.
Well, quite possibly, but we're not talking about a place where people are going to be sleeping in.
No,
are we? And
no,
we're
no.
not talking about a place that's
No, they're not.
1 story high, so I
They're
don't
not.
think, we don't need to
Yeah.
overdo it here. We need
No.
to make sure we're buying something that's compliant with regs, and that's,
Yeah,
and that's safe and fit for purpose for what we're
yeah,
buying it for.
yeah, as long as it's safe. I mean, that's the thing, because,
So are we going to, how do we progress this? Do we ask for some sort of references from these people, or you
We
can do
can
some
do.
research?
So
and
which company are you opting to go
Well,
for?
Cyclone are the cheapest ones, and they seem to be okay. But then, perhaps we'll also look at, I don't know if we can find information on both the companies.
Both Johnny and Martin are both happy with the 16 by 12, are they?
Yes, they are.
They're both agreed on that now.
Well, Johnny wanted as big as possible, and this is Martin's done this work,
Yeah.
and he said to me,
And Johnny's
So-
happy with what Martin's done.
well, they've done it together.
Right.
They've written down everything,
good,
all the
good, good.
measurements together. So I'm presuming everyone is happy.
Good?
Well, it
Yeah.
does
So we
represent
just
quite-
now need to make sure that the rugby club don't mind the fact that it's got bigger.
Yeah. We've got to meet them and
Yeah.
talk to them about the fact it's going to come out another 4 metres further. But it's still into an area of rough ground that they don't use. So I don't think it's going to affect them much. And they get some spin-off benefit that there's people down there during the week and things like that,
Yeah.
which is what was interesting them.
Yeah.
That we've got some people about there, if anything's going on,
Yeah.
our boys are round and about. There's likely to be less vandalism and trouble to them in the week. And at nights and weekends they're down there training, so, or playing matches.
We're proposing to move our CCTV to our unit anyway, so that'll
Yeah.
give them a bit of protection on
So that
CCTV.
helps as well.
Yeah.
Going
So,
on there.
yeah. So,
So we need, presumably we need to get planning.
Yeah,
So I would suggest that our next steps, rather than deciding today which supply we're going to use or taking it any further, I would suggest the next steps are planning, getting a price for the base and getting a price for the services to be connected.
Yeah.
we need to get the price for the base. We need to talk to the rugby club just to make absolutely certain they're happy
Yeah.
Yeah.
that we're going down there. I think
Absolutely.
that's number one, because if they say no, we're back to square one. And we're back talking about their lease, because it was conditional upon the fact of us going down there. But it was us going down with a 16 by 8 building. So, in all fairness, and I've already broached it with their secretary,
Yeah.
David Webb from Bully Davy, that we are looking at a slightly bigger building, but it shouldn't affect them too much. He suggests we talk to the 2 guys that came here.
yeah, which I've
Graham
tried to
Snelling
do,
and-
but they're not available till next week, so we can try and arrange to meet them next week.
Next week will be fine. If some of us can go and meet them,
Sure.
whoever. Yeah, if you can arrange something, we'll go along.
Who's met them already? Talked to them already about it? You've talked to them,
They
haven't you?
came
They
to
came
one of our
to-
meetings.
Estates.
Okay, this is when I was away.
Yeah, you were away at the time in Canada, I think. They came to Estates, we all met them,
Yeah.
went through it, they were very happy with the idea. They have just gone up into a higher league for rugby. They want to do some work on their clubhouse. They want to improve their facilities now they've gone up a league. I think they've got to stay in that league. And they wanted a longer lease, because if they're going to spend money on the place, they wanted to be sure they've got a longer lease. In line with the tennis club and the bowls club, we gave them a lease till 2066, which would be long enough for them to get whatever loans and things they want to secure for what they're going to do to the clubhouse. It's our building, so as long as we're happy with what they're planning to do in there when they go for planning permission,
It's not our building.
I think it's their building.
it's their
Yeah,
building.
it's our
but-
land.
It's our land.
It's our land, it's their building, is it, on
Yeah.
our land?
Yeah.
But you know, it's an asset that's standing on our land. At the end of the day, if they ever abandon it, leave it, or whatever, we could certainly make use of it.
Yeah.
So you know, I think it's a win-win situation all the way round, provided that we're not now being too greedy on pinching a piece of their car park. So I think that's number one. Then after that, yeah, you're absolutely right. We need to get a price on this base while we're getting that approval, and we need then to get planning permission as soon as we possibly can. We need an architect in to do all this for us, get this planning permission, and follow that through with whatever else follows it, building regs or whatever, approval, and get on with it as quick as we can.
And And the services as well, I think that's quite important, because that's a bit of a
Yeah.
open question, isn't it? Because it could
Yeah.
be a lot,
Just-
of money or not very much
Just
at all.
in case
Yes.
it's a snag or
Yeah.
something.
Yes.
Because
Yeah, we need-
you find out there's not the
Yeah, because
capacity.
it might be £5,000 for a gas connection
Well, it
or
might be,
something
yeah, it might be more than
ridiculous.
that if it's,
Yeah.
you know, if there's,
Yeah.
there's not the capacity down there.
Yeah. So we need to look into that. We need to talk to the suppliers for gas, electricity, water, sewage, the lot. We need to check all the services are available. And I think we established they don't use three-phase for anything, didn't we, when we went down?
I think we did, yes.
I would have thought you should have a three-phase in there, you know, it would have, I don't know what sort of equipment they may end up with. And it would future-proof it, wouldn't it? So,
It would future-proof it, yeah, I don't know. I
if
wouldn't
it's,
have-
it depends on what it
It
costs.
means the
Yeah.
ongoing cost is quite a bit more, of course. You're not talking
Right.
about
Depends where the nearest three-phase is, doesn't it? If
well,
it's-
there'll be three-phase down there because they don't take single-phase down to areas like that. They just then distribute it on each phase depending on.
Right.
So would
So-
it be better
so-
to go for three-phase,
Well,
do you think?
if we don't need it, it's not just the cost of installing it, it's the ongoing standing charges and ongoing tariff costs, isn't it?
So we don't do it
Cost more.
until we need it.
Yeah, if they're not using it now, I would suggest that we don't
Yeah.
need it.
Because
Yeah,
we
we-
will put in later if necessary.
Yeah, we didn't think we had it at the moment, so I think we're safe to go with single-phase.
I think we asked the
Supply.
question when we were down there and they said they didn't, I think.
Mm.
I seem to remember. Don't go right now.
Yeah. So yeah, we need to get moving on that lot. Funding of it from our side, what we were going to do was take this total cost of all the total cost of construction, all in, and get a Public Works Loan Board loan to cover it, which we would pay back at the same rate as we currently pay rent for the other unit in Eastwood Road. And then from that you can calculate how many years it will be on the loan repayment calculations, while the loans are very, very cheap, because if interest rates rise, those rates will go up. So while those interest rates are very cheap, get it on a fixed rate interest, get it as soon as we can and start paying back. I didn't think, when we looked at it, I didn't think it was an enormous number of years that we were going to be paying back for. Bearing in mind we're paying, I forget the exact figures, is it about £7,500 or something like that, rent we pay?
Queen Victoria, isn't it?
Hmm?
Queen Victoria?
What?
Oh, you mean on the unit?
On the unit
Yeah.
at Eastwood Road?
Yeah.
I think it's
You were
about
saying it's
7...
Queen Victoria Hall, because that's got a really long loan on it.
No, there's a huge loan on that. Way beyond all of us, that. But courthouse is finished. If they say you've got a lot of loans already, courthouse is finished in about a year or two. So that one's paid up virtually. So we're able to take on a couple of small ones. One for this extension here at Fletton House, and one for this workshop. And the workshop one is paying for itself effectively. If it's about the same as the rent we're paying now, for a building we'll never ever own and the rent will only ever go up, we're buying something that will be an asset to the council in future.
So are you happy for the next meeting that I look at the price for a base based on that size?
Yeah.
That we've met with the rugby club and
Yeah.
prove they're happy.
Yeah.
We get utility prices and we check the services that are down there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So we could do that for the next meeting.
for the next
so
meeting.
That would progress it.
That would move it. Yeah, that would get it going.
Excellent.
Okay,
Brilliant.
next item on the agenda, to receive an update from St Peter's Church Green Group about wildlife areas.
I'm going to do a little bit of history for Jerry. The Green
Do it for
St
all.
Peter's Church Green Group has been going for 3 or 4 years now, and what they wanted to do was take over part of the churchyard and make it better for wildlife because it's in the centre of the town. Initially they had lots of problems because people were very anti, because obviously it means you don't cut the grass every week, so they didn't like it because it looked a mess. Gradually, with the fact they've got a board down there explaining why it looks the way it does in that area, it's the complaints are less and they're actually building on it. Every year they enter the churchyard competitions. I think last year they won a bronze and they're waiting to hear this year whether they've won anything. And they've put up bat boxes, they've now got wildflower mats, and if you go down there they've got all the fox and cubs and the cyclamen is all coming up. It was, we saw it, looks beautiful.
It does actually.
So they are actually working really hard and keeping it going. They want to change the mowing regime slightly, so I thought it was a good idea to have an update of what they have been doing and then look at what they want to do. I met on site with them and Martin, who cuts it as they request, and he's happy with it. So it's basically just approving it through the states, so if that's what we want to do.
Is it going to take us any longer to do the new mowing regime?
No, it just means we're going to mow it a bit more frequently than we have been at the moment. But I mean, we mow the rest of it quite regularly. It just means we don't always mow that bit, but we will do it slightly more.
Not a huge area, is it?
No, it's not.
So do we have any issues with this?
No.
Can we move on?
Yep.
To receive and approve a business plan for Workshop Unit 2 at the courthouse and agree a 3-year lease for the barber's business.
This follows on from the last meeting where there wasn't enough information, so I went back to the tenant and asked them for a business plan, which you have. So obviously you need to now look at their application again for a barber's business in that final workshop unit at the courthouse.
Well, I have to say, having seen this business plan, it doesn't really say very much apart from they hope to do good business.
Yes, it's not exactly a business.
No. So, our alternatives, I suppose, is to take the gamble and have them in, or let it to somebody else if we can find somebody else. Has anybody got an opinion?
What was the outcome of the wanting a barber's pole and all that
I
stuff?
thought we said that they couldn't have it.
I hoped we had.
Yeah, I
I
haven't
thought
been back
that's
to them on that
so.
because obviously you
But
need
they
to
need to know
actually
that. We
approve
don't
their
want them
application.
to say you can go ahead and then think that we've said yes to everything.
What about the sign? What are they expecting to do in terms of signage? Because signs that are there for the current businesses are quite subtle, aren't they? Not
They have
great
to
They
be
have to
because
be.
we're in a conservation
Yeah.
area, so they all have to match what's there, and they know that.
And they know that.
And I automatically give them the company that have done all the existing signage, and that's what they have to
So they
use.
realise that they're not going to be marketing themselves very much on the outside of the building.
No.
Do we have to spend money on this for them? So they
John
can,
and I have cleared it. It needs a really good clean, so we might have to pay for it to be
Okay.
cleaned.
so we don't have to install sinks or anything like this, or
No,
drainage? Yeah,
basically what they do is they take the unit as it stands,
yes.
like the dog grooming lady. She's borne the cost of putting in the hot water, her bath, her infrastructure. If she leaves, she takes all of that out and it reverts back to how it was.
Okay.
And we relet it on that basis. As did the bookshop, they took all the shelving and everything out when their lease ended.
These two have got no trading history, have they?
Yeah, they're currently employed in the barbering business
Well, it's
for
hardly
13
trading.
That's
years.
Yeah.
not, if they're working for somebody else, it's not trading.
No,
What, managing 3 salons?
anybody can say things like that, I hate to say it.
Okay.
You managed a great big building in Oundle, I saw a picture of it the other day. This one.
But I do.
Yeah, you do, exactly, you do. And several others as well. So,
Well,
this is new to me, so I'm not quite sure what our criteria again are here. I
I
mean,
don't know what they are too.
do we?
criteria are let the rooms.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying.
Well,
no,
criteria
we've
is to make sure
always
they pay the
said
rent.
that
Well,
we
exactly,
didn't.
yeah.
We didn't want any businesses, you know, that were noisy or caused bad smells or anything for the neighbours, so like food outlets and things, and they're good.
Yeah.
At the moment, everyone seems to want food outlets in Oundle. We've had no end of inquiries. Well, this
Really?
isn't suitable for that.
Yeah.
So we are quite limited on what we can have there.
I'm sort of, where I am is why wouldn't we? Is sort of this, you know, is it because we're worried that they might not have a successful ongoing business and we might end up with a...
Well, that's my worry, yes. I mean, it's in the back end of Oundle somewhere, isn't it, really? And round the corner, round the back.
Well, if it's a short lease or
And,
something, or there's a
Well, it's a 3-year lease with a
So
break
a break
clause
clause.
after a year.
Yeah. I mean, there's not a lot of
Yeah.
difference with respect between
And to
barbering
them,
and
the-
dog grooming, is there?
No.
So
No.
we've got dog grooming, so we might as well have barbering.
Okay.
So I can't,
And to be fair, the attraction for them is the fact they can afford it because it's not in the town
Yeah.
centre. They
Yeah.
can't afford a unit
Yeah.
in the town centre.
Yeah.
Well, yes, but what are the terms of the lease? They presume they put a deposit down, do they, of some sort?
Yeah, the same as everyone else has
Yeah.
been. So they pay a deposit which we hold
Of how much?
of a month's rent, so it's £250, and then they pay a month up front. They pay the legal costs for the lease, so it's a 3-year lease with a break clause after a year on their part.
so they're liable for, worst case, they're liable for 12 months, £250
Yeah.
a month. And
Yeah.
if they're not making money after that, they can walk away.
They can
Yeah,
walk away.
and they take their infrastructure with them, and we're
Yeah.
left with the
Yeah.
unit to let.
They restore it to the state it was originally in,
So
and we put another tenant in.
it
So
seems pretty low risk to me, doesn't it? Unless we've got people queuing up to rent that space, then why wouldn't we?
Yeah, let's go for it.
we've been
Okay.
we've been having quite a few customers lately, haven't we? Berries have done very well in finding us people, haven't they?
Berries and the OTC staff.
Yeah.
I was going to say, I've let these
Yeah.
myself, so we don't have
Yeah.
to pay
Yeah.
berries. We've got us
So
out of the fees.
yeah, that's even better still.
Okay, so we're agreeing to let this person start their business.
But no barber's pole, that's what we agree.
No barber's
No,
pole
no, no,
outside.
and a discreet sign.
Yeah.
Okay, can we move on?
Yep.
To approve a quote for the repair of the courthouse roof on the rear of the building. I think you've got 3 of them, haven't you?
Yeah, we have. I added another one in, which I hope you
Yeah.
all got. As you know, we've had a leak, we've had a problem on the rear of the building at the back, which I showed you on Sunday, and which has leaked into our tenants in the main courthouse chamber, which is not ideal because their computer server is underneath the leak, so we could be liable if that blew up. So we've had the opinion of 3 Collie Western roofers that the rear of that building is slipping, which apparently does happen. It hasn't been re-roofed since 2000. I'm not even sure they did it then. I think they just mended it. They didn't do the whole roof, looking at it.
Yeah.
So it's done well.
Yeah,
It's lasted
done well.
17 years. So now it's a case of, getting that done as a maintenance repair, and which company you'd like to go with.
You've got 2 of the quotes here. Is there a third one
Yes.
Yes, I
two
sent
of
it
them.
separately
on a separate email?
yesterday.
And the third one's the most competitive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's nice and local, so.
Do we know him? Does anybody know these people?
Lisa knows him, I think.
And she thinks he's, well,
I
Darren
went to
was.
school with him, but I haven't seen him for 20 years. I don't know what he's like now.
I hadn't noticed that Joe Clinton had quoted you. I do know Joe Clinton. I didn't notice that when I was declaring interest or not declaring interest. I've no connection with him other than the fact that he used to play darts in the darts league.
Was he any good?
Um,
If he's no good, we don't have him.
but his darts playing controls whether or not he gets this job, does it?
Yes.
Yeah, right.
So are you declaring that interest, Councillor Sparks?
Well, that I know
Okay.
of Joe Clinton,
Right, that's fine.
especially as he donated a trophy to the darts league. So
The only thing I will say, Manor Roofing, I noticed says we have made no inclusion for replacing any timber work, making good the brickwork. So that presumably means the bands and so on would be on top of this. I don't know.
I would assume so, that's how I wear it as well.
Yes.
The only thing that worried me about their small print, and I was going to check it if we go with Danny, was it actually said that they accept no liability while the works are going ahead. So if we have a massive rainstorm and there's no roof
Yeah.
and it leaks onto the tenant, they're not liable, if you read this. So we'd end up with a real mess.
Yes, I can't see how a roofing company can say they
That's what
don't
it
have any
says.
liability.
No liability for leaks, it says.
That's a pretty big hole in their
Yeah.
quote, isn't it?
well, while he's got it while he's got the tiles off to work on it, he must surely cover it
The tarpaulin or
with
something.
a tarpaulin or something when he's away from sight.
Yeah, here we are. Whilst we carry out this work in a careful and
This
workmanlike
is
manner,
Manor, this is Manor Roofing, not...
we will
not
not be held
Daniel
responsible
Whitehead.
for any damaged water ingress that may occur whilst works are carried out.
Right.
So I imagine they would cover it with a tarpaulin or whatever, but they're saying if we had a freak thunderstorm and it leaked, they wouldn't be
He's probably
liable.
been caught out on something before. But Danny Whitehead and Clinton, Collie Weston, Stone Slater, they don't have those...
They don't have that on there.
No.
Doesn't mean that.
No, it doesn't mean it doesn't
Consider
apply.
them, though, doesn't it? I mean, they're both Clinton and Danny Whitehead. very-
Danny Whitehead's including the battens
Yes, I saw that.
and also
And
putting
so's the
felt
Clinton, I think,
on,
too.
which is the main problem apparently. Collie Western roofs, if they don't have felt underneath, that's why they leak so easily. And once you get a leak, it's very hard to ascertain where it is. Whereas once they put the felt on,
Yeah.
it gives it extra protection.
Well, from these two, there's only two that are in the running, aren't there? That's Danny Whitehead and Clinton, Collie Weston, Stone Slater. One is far cheaper than the other one.
Why do you say that?
Because of the problems that, well, first of all, the other one doesn't include the, doesn't seem to include any woodwork,
Okay.
and because of this clause about not taking responsibility.
I feel we should check Danny Whitehead out.
Yes.
There's a very amateurish look about this whole thing.
Well, he's not VAT registered for a start.
And
Well, to be fair, they're all pretty amateurish.
well, yes, but
No,
there's a
no,
difference.
yeah, not exactly giving you detail.
It's
not detail
my
notes.
gut feeling, but
I thought Joe Clinton had moved away from Chapel Street, Warmington, many, many years ago. I thought he'd been gone from there now about 10 years. He's actually at Collie Weston these days. At the bottom, he's got 37A Chapel. So he's using old paper.
Well, whatever you decide will have to go to full council anyway. So I suppose you can just put an amount and then put the company forward
yeah,
once you've done some more homework on them.
Yeah.
I think probably.
Why I was looking at Joe's address is that when he moved to Collie Weston, he handed over all his Oundle-based business at this end of the county to some other people. It wasn't, as far as I know, it's not Danny Whitehead. It was to them, was it? Do you know the people running that?
I think there's a link between these two.
Yeah.
Right,
That's what I've heard.
right. Who's signed that for? No, I don't know. David Holdup, no. No, I just wondered if some other names were going to come up. But they were employees of Joe Clinton, but Joe was a master roofer with Collie Weston Stone, but I don't know that the people he employed were to the same extent. I think we probably need to look further, don't we? But
Well, all these companies.
Well, ask for 2 or 3 references in recent jobs.
Yeah,
Yeah, so-
that's fine.
That would do it.
Absolutely.
Maybe we can ask Manor Roofing some clarification on this clause at the end, and also whether they do supply the batten work and the felt.
yeah,
I mean, I think you could ask all of them for a copy of their terms and conditions.
Yes.
yeah.
They should, none of them have provided terms and conditions, have they? They've just provided a company letter, basically.
How urgent is this work to be done?
Very, isn't it?
Well, touch wood. At the
Yeah,
moment
for
we
the
have no
winter.
leaky roof, but
Because the leak's been fixed, hasn't it? It needs to
well,
be done properly.
supposedly
Yeah.
at the moment, but
So can we wait
it's
till the
been
next
fixed
meeting?
twice in the same place.
Okay. And who did that work?
Joe Clinton.
So they fixed it twice, it's still leaking.
Why
But I
I think that's a mystery
But
there.
in their defence, I
Yeah.
think Collie Western Roof is really hard to
sure.
ascertain where a leak is.
So it's a bit tongue-in-cheek, a bit unfair.
So, do we want to take anything to full council? Because otherwise it will delay it for another month.
Well,
And before
we
then
could.
we could-
We'd have to go for the highest one, wouldn't we?
Yeah,
On
and
the
then,
outside.
and then ask for references to go to full council.
Yes. References in terms of conditions.
Up to the value of the highest one you mean,
Yes.
and then,
That's what
yeah,
I mean. 21,400, I think, isn't it?
yeah.
Because we're only doing the rear, aren't we?
Yes, yeah, I asked for a second opinion on that, because they've given a quote for both. Well,
Right.
Joe Clinton seems to have given a quote for the front as well, but I understand that that doesn't need doing.
Is the front bigger?
No.
Because you would think it'd be a lot less really to do.
No, the
to
back
do
is
the front
in.
as well, wouldn't you? If they're going to come and do the work. then
While he's
they're
up there, you
scaffolding
mean?
up, and they're doing, yeah, well, exactly, yeah. No, but I mean, joking, but I mean, they're putting
Yeah.
scaffolding up,
Yeah.
and they're mobilising on the site, you know, you'd think there'd be a lower cost, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
If they're going to do
No, it's exactly the same almost.
slightly more, in fact.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Anyway, can we move on to the next item?
Okay, so that's to go to full council for an amount up to 21,400, and then with further references and
Clarification on
Clarification.
the manor ones.
So we need those then by week 3 of next month then to
yeah.
progress those as quick as we can.
Item 17.62. Sounds like a year in Star Trek, actually. To accept a quote from E.ON to replace Mercury lights located in.
Yeah.
In.
I've spoken to E.ON twice and said,
No, what
how
does it
many
mean by in?
Mercury...
Where are
well, because they won't tell me where they are. They don't know.
And
So we
have
have
got
to-
any?
Yeah, we've got 2.
Somewhere.
Oh, apparently we had
So-
8 the first time I spoke to them. I was like, how many? That's quite a lot. And then he went, oh no, you haven't got any. And then he said, no, you got 2. I was like, well, where are they?
I think
Oh, I
he's
don't know, I'll
guessing.
get back to you.
I think they're guessing.
So
Because
that's
we had
why I
all the
can-
lights replaced.
Yeah, I don't think we can
Where
accept
are
a
they?
quote for that unless we know where they are.
Or any
We've
other
seen
number
them.
you might
Sorry,
think of.
Annika.
It was a bit.
I've tried.
It was a bit of a speculative letter anyway, wasn't it? We've got these lights, and if they fail, it'll be difficult to fix them. So we'll propose them to change them. I mean,
But no, I have asked twice where the location of the lights are, and they can't tell
well,
us.
that's
The only way they can do it is to come out on site and then look at them all. And we've got 22 lights in total that we pay E.ON for.
Well, they must have a record that 2 need replacing, and they must know where they are. They're not going to go around looking in our street lights to see where they are they? They must know where they are.
Apparently they've got a different numbering system.
But I mean, they're working at the moment, presumably, and so if they fail, wouldn't there's amount of time to replace them rather than doing it?
They're just forewarning us that Mercury street lights will
Yeah.
no longer be.
So when they fail, we'll have to change it. won't we?
Change them
Okay.
over then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're not accepting the quote,
Right.
but we would like to know where they are.
No, I'd like to know where they are as well.
Right.
They're the sort of bluey white ones that take a long time to warm up.
To approve a quote for a new, item 17.63, to approve a quote for a new logo for the farmers market and a banner for the roundabout. Also a banner for the Christmas market.
Right, I've had a quote, because what we were talking about with the markets, and I thought whether we should try and relaunch the farmers market. We've never really had a logo that we
I'm
can
not
use.
against it, but why a pepper?
I don't know, I
When
just
our
chose...
local farmers don't grow peppers.
I'd like
Sorry,
I'd like
nice
to,
idea, but wrong sort of fruit.
I'd like
Banana then.
They don't grow those.
we don't have
either.
bananas.
That's why she says banana.
Really? I'm going to sing.
Okay,
Anyway,
so if we change it from a pepper, you're happy with it? Basically, to have a banner done is £25, and I think we do need a banner on the roundabout for the farmers market and for the Christmas market.
okay, can I say something, please?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sharing, I suppose I can. Who designed this logo?
No, this is one off the internet. This is an idea. I haven't got,
Ah,
but I didn't want to go to Inky and say, design me a logo based on this until I knew what you thought.
If you turn it into a strawberry,
well, I think, actually,
Yes, or, yeah.
going on to a sort of wider sort of view, we need a new logo for the town council, maybe one for the hub and one for this.
Oh, don't start on about another logo for the town council.
All right, that's the wrong thing.
why do we need a new logo? I thought we had one.
Where's the sort of pencil drawing, a kid's pencil drawing, it's St Peter's Church.
Yeah.
Shut him up, for God's sake.
It's a long and painful story.
Yeah,
It
that
is.
one.
It
It would
is
take
very,
all
very
night to
painful.
go down.
Yeah.
There's nothing like them.
So if we change it to strawberry,
One for marketing, that.
basically I want to be able
Tomato.
to spend 2 lots of £25 for 2 banners. One
I
to
think
promote
we-
the farmers market, one to promote the
Okay.
Christmas
I
market.
don't think it's that critical, is it? So, strawberry, tomato,
Any
any
other,
others?
any other large round reds fruit?
Loaf of bread, sausage? No.
No, we've had problems with sausage.
I don't mind what it is,
Unless it's not a
except that it's, well, no, that
Well,
it's
it's
not
not
an
grown
imported kind of fruit. I've got lemons and oranges growing in my house, but I wouldn't say that they are typical of what we produce in this area, and that's what the farmers' market has to be.
I agree with that, but also it wants to invite people in as well, doesn't it? So it's something they want to buy. Well, apples are the other thing, of course. And pears.
Yes, and that's pretty like an apple. It wouldn't take much altering.
Okay.
Okay,
But do we agree the cost of the banners?
Yes.
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 You like the next one as well, Malcolm?
To consider and approve £1 for pounds for an upgraded gas meter in the QVH to make the boiler run more
You've
efficient.
got the wrong one. I've changed all that. Anyway,
Oh, that's
I
fine.
don't
That's
have
what I've got.
I don't have a pounds because I've contacted the gas supplier because apparently the boiler in the Queen Victoria Hall keeps going out
Yes.
because the meter that they installed 5 years ago is not big enough for the supply for the boiler, we've now discovered. So I've applied to the gas supplier for a bigger meter, hoping I would have a price that we could agree, and all I got is a form through with hundreds of questions on about our gas supply, and then they will look at it and give us a price. At the moment I don't have a price.
To a certain extent, isn't it up to them to have a meter to supply, to measure our gas that they're
Why
going
do
to
we
charge
have
us
to
for?
pay for it?
Yeah, why do we have to
I
pay?
had a new meter and they installed it free.
They're going
It's
to
a
be
commercial-
earning,
it's
taking more
commercial
money.
property.
Oh, it's because it's commercial.
Anyway, at the moment I'm filling through the great big form, and when I have a price it will... But apparently that is what's causing the Queen Victoria Hall boiler to go faulty all the time. There's not enough gas going through the meter to
Right.
get to the boiler. And that's what keeps going out.
Okay.
Blimey.
It's a bit like your...
I've just got a
bit
blank
like
page
your
with the
arteries,
rating
Mark.
quote from gas
Yeah.
supplier.
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
what you got.
that's what I
That's
put
what
in
we've all
because I
got,
don't
yeah.
have one.
Right.
Item 17.65, to approve a quote for £1,800 from Oundle Architecture for building regulations to progress the Fletton House extension, which I think you'll find is item 4 on the quote. It's the next stage, building regulations package and submission.
So it's just that one item, not the total of 4,100,
No, because
which is more than
we've done those bits already.
We've done some of them, haven't we? Yes.
Yeah.
Are
No,
we-
it's just that one.
Are we at the stage where we we know exactly what we're going to do down there? We're going to put a toilet in last time I heard, so wouldn't that...
Well, that will go into building regs, won't it? The fact that we now need to put a toilet in.
But we have to tell Oundle Architecture first to make sure he changes his plans accordingly, or has that been done?
No, because you have to... I didn't want to go to him until you've approved the next stage. Otherwise he's doing stuff that hasn't been approved and won't be paid for.
I think we need to... Sorry?
Quite a lot of money, isn't it? £4,000.
No, it's 1,800.
Yeah, but I mean in total, so
Yeah.
more than that.
I think we need to pay it and get on with it, I think, now.
Yeah, I totally approve of that.
Okay.
So can I get because it's an amount we're spending, I need a proposer and a second.
Propose it.
So,
All in
Do you want to
favour?
second it for a check?
I'd say-
All in favour?
Yeah. We've got on
Items 17.
Sorry, can I just have a very quick question? Sorry, I don't want to lay any line on it. Needs to. This architect was who we usually use, presumably, is it? Because they've got the drawings already.
We went out to tender to 3 architects
Okay.
originally, and this is the one that has done the scheme and
This
got us
is
through.
the plan of the house, and that's why we've gone back to them for this. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so this is the final part of
Yeah.
what they quoted for originally.
Yeah.
He's produced quite an attractive solution.
Well, it's got us planning permission, so we have to
Yeah.
plan it.
It's all part and parcel of the same job.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to have to go out to tender again for the workshops, aren't we?
Yeah,
Um,
that'll be fun.
Item 17.66 to approve a request from Taylor's Fun Fair to stand on the recreation ground between 9th and 14th
Yeah,
of
fine.
October. Well, they do it every year, don't they, I think? Do they?
Yes.
Yeah, so has anybody got objections?
No.
No objections? Okay. Item 17.67 to agree to hire metal crowd control barriers for road closures for Remembrance Sunday and the Christmas market. Have we got... Why is everybody looking at me like that?
Because you're the chair.
Our barriers disappeared, which I think we acquired by devious means anyway. But
This is different. I don't mean the road closure one. These are the ones that the Royal British Legion were on about, those metal crowd control barriers.
right. So it's a,
I'm struggling to find a higher price. I'm trying to find out who Barnwell Fireworks hire theirs from, because they have hundreds of them on
Right.
bonfire night.
right.
To buy them, they are ridiculous. They are like £400 a barrier to buy,
And they
we
get
need
pinched.
at least
I get
8.
pinched, yeah.
So they're those metal crowd control barriers that fit together.
Yeah.
So that they were asking if we could have 2 on each road closure because of what's happening with terrorist attacks. They wanted a more physical barrier
Right,
rather
okay.
than just people and cones.
Yeah.
So we said we would look at it. But
Yeah.
to buy, as I say, they're so expensive and I can't get your higher cost at the moment.
So we can't agree to hire because we don't know what the cost is.
No, not at the moment.
So...
But in principle, you need to think about whether you're
I
happy
think
to
we
do
ought
it.
to, because it's November is heading
Coming up
towards us
fast.
very quickly.
Yes.
It's November the 11th and 12th we want this for, the first event. So we've got one more meeting between now and then, and after that meeting, not a lot of time, about a week to get them, haven't we?
Yeah.
So I think we need to agree up to a certain figure. Do you have any idea? Is there
Well, I don't think
400
we'd
to
want to
buy?
buy them
No.
because they are
No, we've
one,
got
we
to
can't
store them and
store them,
everything.
and
No,
two,
no.
they're
No, I'm
so
not saying we buy
expensive.
them. If they're 400 to buy, we must be able to come up with an idea of what they are to rent.
If we need 8, that's
If you go on-
3,200. So
If
it's
you
got
go
to be
online,
£500 or something.
you can look at them. If you look at crowd control barriers, they come up at about £40 a barrier to hire.
Right.
So I'm
So
hoping we can
yeah.
get them cheaper than that.
So it's
if we work on that, we work
£320.
on 40, 50 pounds a barrier. We want about 8, did you say?
Well, they wanted one on each road
Yeah.
closure, didn't they? So that's 2 at Blackpot Lane, 2 on West Street,
West Street,
and
2 on the marketplace
Place.
somewhere.
and
that's
then
6.
another 2. You got 8, haven't you? You got
Where's the other
Blackpot
2?
Lane, Market. No, 6.
2 and 2. We
You
block it
get
up in 3
6,
places.
wouldn't you?
So that'll be 6.
Yeah.
At about £300 then.
So up to £300.
You can get plastic ones for 28 quid.
Yeah, you
There you
can.
go.
But they're no good, are
Yeah.
they?
You'll drive straight through them.
Well, you try and stretch the metal ones as well.
Well,
If
yeah,
you're going to try and
yeah.
drive through it. Yeah,
So we're agreeing to hire the metal control barriers for up to £300 for road closures for Remembrance Sunday and Christmas market. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Is that for each occasion? Will it be
I
300?
imagine it is, yeah.
We'll send them back and then hire them again, because if we hang on to them
Yeah,
for
we
all that
can't.
time.
Hmm.
So
But we
it's-
haven't got anywhere to put them either.
So that's 300 times 2, that's £600 total we're going to spend.
you want me to pass?
Yes.
Okay. She must have done this herself, I'm sure.
Yeah, I
You've
did.
Googled, presumably.
Yeah, that's the one.
27 quid.
Oh, to buy?
Yeah.
How much?
Oh, I
Plastic
didn't
ones.
find that.
No? Oh.
Oh, the ones I went on were like £400.
I did see them for £400, but I also saw them at £30.
What's wrong with them?
Wait, before anybody else
Hang on, you
comes.
have to order 10, so
Well,
that's
That's
200.
300, that's what we were going to pay tonight, so.
We're going to pay that to hire 6 and send them back and hire them again. So, yeah, buy them
So
at that.
start traffic, that one was.
so shall we say to hire or buy?
Or purchase, yeah.
Or purchase,
Or
yeah,
purchase, yes.
yeah, as appropriate. Is the
Well
word.
done.
Well done,
Yeah.
because I struggled to find any that were. I mean, I might still check with Barnwell and
Yeah,
see
yeah,
how
yeah.
much they get
Yes,
charged.
If
Is
we
that
buy,
that
if we
cheap?
buy them, where are we going to put them in the
Yeah,
meantime?
that's the problem.
That's the next
You
problem.
have to build a work.
They'll shuffle round until the new workshop's built. Then they'll be under Johnny's feet.
Perhaps we can use it to keep the bridge club from
As they're so cheap,
inappropriately.
can we make sure that they're can we make sure they've not fell off the back of a lorry somewhere as they're that
Right,
Next item 17.68. To agree to the Rotary Club of Oundle planting another 5,000 crocus bulbs in the recreation ground to supplement last year's display.
where are they going to go?
In the same place, I think, to make it.
They're just going to thicken it up, are they?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
as
so.
long as it's thick, we don't want the rosy posy ring in the middle of the ground.
No,
or
they
something.
said it would have agreed with us where they go.
Okay,
And I
fine.
presume, to me, it makes sense to put them in the same place. And just
Right.
make it,
So they think the others won't come up again, or?
I think they want to make it look, it did look nice, I think they
Yeah,
want to
it
make
did,
it more
yeah, okay.
striking.
Well, subject to us agreeing when they're going to put them, then we agree.
Yes,
this.
we have to absolutely.
Yes.
Estates officer will agree.
Oh no, it'd be up to John, because it's his recreation
No, well, you've got
ground,
to
I'm
tell
not
him
going to
then.
interfere.
You've got to
Don't
tell
let
them.
him get carried away.
He won't
No.
let them go in the middle, because he won't want to cut it. Won't want to cut
Item
round it.
17.69, we're going through this, aren't we? To approve £850 for the purchase of a water bowser to clean slippery paths and playing areas. What did we do before we had a water bowser?
Didn't clean them.
Didn't we?
Oh, right,
That's
okay.
why that one was like a skating rink, so
Okay.
We
clean.
saw that on Sunday, didn't we?
It's a lovely job now, isn't it?
So,
Is it? You convinced
It hadn't
us
been
it's the
done
right
for a
thing.
long
Where's he
time.
going to keep it when he's bought it?
In his shed, in his new
In the
shed.
workshop.
In the new workshop.
with the barriers.
Have we got a little square for that amongst?
Yeah.
We have. We got a little
We can
square for
draw
the
a little
Bowser.
square for that.
See, he predetermined our decision. He
Are we
did.
going to
That's
buy-
naughty. That.
Are we going to buy it before we've got the workshop?
Yes,
Yeah.
Where's it going to go in the meantime?
in the current workshop.
Okay.
Will it fit in there? If not, he'll have to
We'll
go
take
in
the
the
mowers out.
garden at the courthouse, won't it? In the backyard.
Hmm.
Take some of the mowers out.
Right.
Anyway.
okay,
Agreed?
we agree.
Yep.
Item 17.70. To consider offering a discount on new Christmas market stalls coming to the QVH.
Also a verbal update on the progress of the Christmas market. Shall I give you the verbal update first?
Yes.
Right, I've applied to close every single road that we've talked about. It's a bit scary. I'm hoping that we will fill most of New Street with the fun fair,
Yep.
and that we go up to in front of the Queen Victoria Hall on West Street and not propose to fill the whole of West Street with stalls, because that's impossible.
Right.
And then perhaps use the rest of West Street to allow people to park, so they could come up to, say, as far as the zebra crossing. That will include the Queen Victoria Hall in
Right.
that market.
Yep.
So you've almost got a really long street market and a fair going off it.
Didn't we want the fair on the flat? Are they going to be able to run a fair on a hill?
Well, they can go at the top of New Street So we can put some stalls at the bottom. What I'm hoping is that we have a market that's a straight line.
Yeah,
So you will have some that go down
Yeah.
in front of the War Memorial. Obviously we're keen to use the Queen Victoria Hall,
yes,
and what Lisa and I have found is a lot of the crafty stalls that we're trying to attract in there think that I think £60 rent for a market pitch is too high for them.
mhm,
So what we were going to propose is that if they were a new stall this year, we would offer them it at 35 to get them into the Queen Victoria Hall to fill it, and then those that choose to have been before or choose to be outside will pay the normal rent.
right,
At the moment we've got 45 stalls signed up and paid already. We're aiming for 70. Which we might have to increase if we want to put some more in the Queen Victoria Hall.
How many of those have signed up to go to QVH and how many on the street?
2 at the moment in the QVH.
mm,
We have got a jazz band willing to play in the QVH,
Yes.
and we talked about making that much more atmospheric than last year, which is one of the
Mhm.
things that came out of the wash-up meeting.
yes,
So we're going to put music on,
yeah,
so we're hoping that this band will play,
yeah,
and that also we can have some pipe music. We
right,
also would like to put a real tree in there on the stage so that you get the smell of the tree and that it looks nice when you go in. And if we wanted to go mad and highlight the Queen Victoria Hall, for £600 we can put Christmas lights on it,
right,
and that would really make it stand out.
Mm.
And we would get the lighting company to put those on all day, so they wouldn't be part of the switch on. That building would be lit up for Christmas.
day.
So all day you'd be able to say Queen Victoria Hall's there. Because that was the biggest problem, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
Nobody
it was.
knew where the Queen
Yeah.
Victoria Hall was.
Yeah.
Okay, sounds
So
like a good
they're-
idea.
That's something else we'd like to
Well, £600 is 10 stalls on the inside, or at the new rate, it's even more, just for the...
that's
Those are
cheaper
blue.
than your rate and mine to stand outside all day
That's
telling
true,
people
yeah.
what it is,
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, my rate
You
was 2
cost a
glasses of
bacon,
blue
butty
wine.
and a hot chocolate. So yeah, that's where we are. So we are aware, you know, that most of the feedback last year was about the Queen Victoria
Yeah,
Hall and the
well,
lack of atmosphere. So we would like to work on that.
Frankly, I'm surprised anybody's coming back to QVH after last year.
No, we've had 2 really want to go inside.
Yeah.
But what we were hoping to do is there's a craft fair that goes in on Remembrance Sunday every
Yeah.
year, is to ask all of those if they would consider coming on that day at
Right.
the reduced rate.
at the reduced rate, okay,
So if we can go for that and then see how it
How many
works.
stalls can we get inside?
Inside,
Inside?
again, we need to plan it much better. Last year they put the tables up themselves, which didn't work.
Yes.
yeah. We didn't have anybody in there supervising when they went in, that was the
No, we didn't have
problem.
enough
Well, we need a
staff.
plan.
We didn't have anybody to
Like
do
a-
it.
Like anything else, we need a plan, so
Mm.
you need some more pieces of paper.
No, I need more people to help. There's only so many of me
No, I meant
to go
planning.
around.
Yeah, but we need to plan where the stalls are going to go.
Yes, we do.
Okay.
I'm happy to do marshalling traffic outside again, as
We
I've
won't
done the
have any
last two.
traffic. The road will be shut.
The road will be shut, that's true,
You're gonna
that's
have to
true.
marshal
I'm
somewhere else.
redundant.
So you can do the stalls.
I can do the light switch on
I
now,
wonder what, if
with my chain on.
Yes.
Yeah,
we're going to reduce new people to 35 and there's only 2 or 3 people or 4 people who've been there before, we might as well charge everybody 35, mightn't we?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Might be more diplomatic, mightn't it?
it might,
So, there's a special offer for this year.
especially as there's only 2 of them so far. I
Yeah.
think, yeah,
But if we were very happy if they discover everyone else has paid off what they've paid.
No, they won't.
Well, I think we have to make sure it's, you know, it's a special offer for this year, for next year, you know, it'll be a different ballgame.
what are they paying for an outside stall?
60 and
Yeah,
70.
I think it should be cheaper than,
Yeah, so
because I would imagine they're going to be smaller inside than they are outside.
Yeah, and the thing
Except
is with
for
craft
rent.
stores, you've got to sell a lot more to cover that money,
Mm.
whereas if you're doing food, you easily make that money and
Yeah.
more.
Yeah.
We've got the
Okay.
noodle lady coming
good.
on Christmas as well.
Got the what?
Tut-tut noodles coming. When
She's
she
very
came to the women's store, she nearly shut the town with the queues. Okay, so you're happy with the progress on the Christmas market if Lisa and I continue with that.
Yes,
Because what we wanted to do is get the road closure in, and then we're going to go and visit all the shops between us and just tell them so they all know, and it's not a shock when they get the letter and go, you're shutting the whole town.
And are we having the hub behind the counter serving tea, coffee, cake?
If that's what they'd like to do, they can.
well,
It's what we want them
well,
to do.
exactly.
Yeah.
I think they'd be
It's-
mad if they didn't take
Yeah,
that.
I think we need the hub to be there. We
The
need
only
that.
thing you might have to fight with is the museum, whether they want to do mulled wine from there.
They can do it from the stall
But
inside.
they could do it.
I'll
from
sort it with
the
them next Wednesday.
Yeah, but they could have a stall inside and use the kitchen if they need it. Because
Yes.
the hub won't need the cooker, will they?
Oh no, they will, oh, the mulled wine might to warm it up.
Yeah, they usually put it on the saucepan. I think the hub will miss an opportunity if they don't. Because
I
they want
think
a
the
cake stall,
Yeah.
but to be honest, the competition for cakes on that market is much, much greater than what we're producing here.
Now, we need to be selling slices of cake on the day at the, whatever it is we're selling.
Well, especially if we get this
£2.25
band in,
or
because
whatever.
hopefully that'll attract
Yeah.
people and make them stay, look
They'll
at the stalls.
sit in there to listen to the music in that bar area, listening to the music, eating cake, drinking coffee. We'll do a bomb. Yeah,
Could you put a bar on?
could do.
We could if they
We've
really
got a
wanted to.
license. We've got a license for it to sell alcohol.
Good idea.
We've got alcohol.
Put a beer and red and white wine in there, and they could have offered them that as well.
But we will
Just-
need a few more marshals then,
We will.
because you'll have drunk and disorderly by 5 o'clock by the time the lights come
The
on.
shops, some of the shops you see open and
Yeah.
serve wine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot of drink.
And then you've got
flowing.
mulled wine, you've got
Yeah.
cider on the market,
Yeah.
you've got
Right.
gin.
Yeah.
Well,
Quite a-
okay. So
But
it's,
yeah.
not, it's not going to have a problem then, is it, having it in QVH? It's not going to add to the amount of alcohol, really.
No.
Okay, so moving on. Item 17.71, consider notes from the Friday hub meetings.
I'm on, my 71 says approved procedures to monitor market trade centres on markets.
Have I sent you the wrong version, or did you not get the second version?
I only got one version.
I don't think I've got two versions, but I could be wrong.
No,
Well, I've got the hub of 1773.
Also 1771.
Well, one is the marketing brochure,
Oh, right, okay.
1772, and 1771 was the one that you wanted me to add in, monitor market traders' attendance on markets,
Good. Yes.
which, well, the letters are not the ones that I thought they were. So at the moment we've got this system. Under the market regulations, they sign up to say if they miss 4 consecutive weeks, we deem their pitch as vacant and we re-let it.
But we haven't been monitoring it.
Yeah, we have. We've been using a red dot system. So if they fail to turn up or tell us,
So,
so in other
these
words,
people are 5 weeks, so they...
yeah, he's
Okay.
gone.
No, he says he's not interested, I spoke to him.
Yeah, but he's gone anyway because obviously he didn't turn up for 5 weeks. So you've got, you know, obviously where people have rung up, where they're sick or they've got a hospital appointment, that's exceptional, so we've changed that. But if they've got a red dot, basically we're keeping an eye on it.
Right.
But if you want to change that, we can. But
We have a
that's the thing.
situation, I got a complaint from, not from a standholder, from somebody else about a lady, I don't know, you must know who she is, selling scarves down there, has been prevented from selling ladies' clothes because somebody else has got a ladies' clothes store. Do you know which?
That's a long-standing war between
But
them.
there's somebody else has got a clothing store, doesn't turn up all the time.
No, that is a problem.
And so I don't, as far as I'm concerned, that restriction should be lifted, so. How often does she turn up? 2 out of 3 times? 1 out of 2 times?
10.
Oh, Annie, she always pays her rent, doesn't she?
That's not the point. We don't need an empty market. We need people there.
She doesn't come if it's going to be very wet, because
Or if she's on
I would
holiday,
totally
or-
agree that
Yeah.
clothing, you don't want it soaking wet
No.
on the
But
market.
you've got a stall. Which we
Yeah, and
kept,
she's been coming for years.
well, she's missed a lot. because I've noticed it going down there.
Yes.
You go down to the market, any of the markets, Thursday or the farmers market, and there's a lot of empty spaces, and I ask, well, why is it empty? Oh, they've cancelled. So it's a very unattractive proposition, isn't it? You go to a market that's empty.
Oh, yeah.
So people have got to turn up. Okay, they can miss the odd one, but they shouldn't make a habit of it.
So what is the dispute between the scarves woman and...
Well, I think that what we're trying to address here is getting people who are going to turn up to the market. It doesn't matter whether they pay their rent or not. We want them, well, it does matter if they pay
It
their
does
rent,
matter.
of course. But we want them to pay their rent and come. Not pay their rent and
Yeah,
not
so
come.
I'm trying to... I've missed it somehow. I've missed... Are you saying that we should stop Henya and have the scarves, or what's the dispute?
Oh, between those two? Well, I think it's a bit unfair stopping one woman from selling, who does turn up every market, as far as I can see, or nearly every market. And
I don't think she does.
She's cancelled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
that's the scarf lady, isn't it?
That's the scarf
Yeah.
lady.
Yeah, that's why I'm sitting
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Maybe
Totally
she's cancelling because she
confused.
can't sell clothes.
No.
No. There was a dispute between her and somebody else because they had the
Right.
same clothes.
Yeah,
didn't
she's
they?
basically buying the same stock as Henya.
As Henya. That's the trouble.
I don't know, Henry, I don't know the person.
That's the other
Yeah.
lady.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's not the
Okay.
issue.
The
The issue you're
is-
saying is there's empty spaces, how do we address that?
Correct.
Well, I agree, but the nature of market traders is they'll ring you on the day, or they'll tell you, or they don't even tell you if it's raining, they just don't bother. So it's very hard to enforce
Somebody
the
I know was
system.
talking to the cheese stall people because they know them very well, and even they're saying we don't know whether it's worth trading anymore. It's nothing to do with Arundel whatsoever. All the markets are the same. They lack stalls because people are stopping trading because of the
Well,
fact
unless we
that
do
people
something to
now.
get-
Hang on, let me
Yeah,
finish.
sorry.
Because people's purchasing is changing, and like my daughters-in-law, they ring up whatever it is, Ocado, and they don't even go to shops anymore. And this is the problem.
The problem we've got, and what Malcolm's trying to address, is the fact that we're trying to attract people into our town centre to shop in our shopping area,
Yeah,
and
totally agree.
they're turning up for a market that's completely empty.
Yeah,
That's the problem that Malcolm's trying to address
Yeah.
by saying, can't we get some more stall holders in
I
here?
totally
Yeah,
agree.
more
I
reliable.
Yeah.
100% agree, but I'm
Yeah.
saying that if the world is that people don't want to be market stallholders anymore, you're going to be a
Have
bit
we got-
posh to get them to stand.
have we got people who want to set up a stall?
Not at the moment.
So,
I
No, we used to have a
so it's-
waiting list.
So it's a bit irrelevant then, isn't it? Because if we haven't got anyone else to fill the slots, then we're not forcing anyone out, are we?
No,
No, but we've got to attract people who
Yeah,
fill
no,
the slots.
I'm not
Yeah.
saying that.
Yeah.
But,
And if we start imposing rules like you can't compete with somebody else on the market, you know, it's a free world out there,
yeah.
then I don't think that
But
will
it's a
help.
small market with a small
It's a
footfall.
very small market.
So if you have two people selling the same product, neither of them are going to make any money and both of them will leave. That's the problem you have.
it's a matter of
It's a
if it
delicate
was two
balance.
entirely different kinds of scarves, but if the newer
But I mean,
Well,
you
leaving
just
aside
buy
that
them from
lady,
the
that
same,
item there, but
I've got another fish stall that would come. What's the point? Both the fish stalls would lose money. Neither of them would come.
yeah, and then we'd lose two.
I know there's an argument with the fellow who sells plants and shrubs and things, that somebody else sells herbs and shrubs on another stall, and he was saying this other fella hardly ever comes.
Is that the farmers' market?
No, that's the other market,
The
the
farmers' market?
Thursday market.
Oh, the
The
Thursday.
Thursday
We
on
don't have.
guy on the
We
Thursday
don't
market.
have shrubs. and-
The guy who's right outside the front doors of N&P has
Yeah.
shown me,
It's
walked
been
up
With
with
a
me,
flower.
took me up to towards the beach end and said, look at this, he's selling exactly the same things I'm selling. I thought
When
that
was
wasn't
that?
allowed. That's a little while ago.
No, so I don't think that's happened for a year or so. We had a
Done
fight
this.
with them over tomato plants.
All right.
Someone was selling tomato plants. It's like running a crash.
It is like that.
Well,
I agree, Malcolm.
High-powered
It
stuff
is
here.
a massive question, and I would love help on how to attract people to the market, because I'm struggling to get them to come.
Yeah, we used to have a really long waiting list.
But it is markets across the country.
Where, if we had a gap, Hanneken would ring people up, you see, on the waiting list straight away and say, look, I know it's short notice, but can you come tomorrow?
how much do we charge them for this one?
Depends on their footage. So standard 10-foot pitch pays £15.60.
Oh, it's hard.
No, so it's pittance. It's not.
Costing that in the bus nearly, you go to Peterborough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we don't charge a lot at all.
No.
So it's not price that's the problem. It's footfall, and sadly, they will all say it's because of Waitrose, but it's the nature of how people shop.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you fight against that.
Cyclic argument. You know, they don't turn up because the footfall isn't there. The footfall isn't there because
Vicious circle.
there's not enough stalls to attract people to turn up.
Yeah.
I'm slightly surprised because it does seem to be fairly busy. Certainly the farmers market, you see just the number of cars and
The farmers market's been pretty empty recently. A lot of empty spaces.
No, I agree with stores. No, I noticed that particularly in August. I did wonder if that was just because it's time
It
of
is
year.
for some reason.
Yeah, but yeah, no, in terms of people turning up to it, it still seems to be quite popular. And Thursdays seems to be reasonably popular as well, I would have thought. There's still seems to be plenty of people around. Maybe.
So what do we do?
Comms
Keep
and marketing.
Keep going.
Pass it to comms and marketing.
What about these market trading magazines and so
Well,
on?
that market trading magazine that we've got in reception, the people who publish that are in Peterborough. I think what we need to do is have a word with them, find out from them whether there is a problem, whether we publish an article in there or something to say we're having a problem with absenteeism on our market. Is everybody else having the same problem? You know, are there traders out there who want to come to a market? We've got some spaces.
How about electronic signs as well? Can we advertise?
They're on there that the market's on.
But maybe
You
we
want
should
us
say
to-
stalls available.
Okay,
Have you been on their trader list yet?
not yet, no.
Because they've got a trader list. I went on it and it didn't work. The idea being that every trader gets a free entry on this directory of market stall holders throughout the country. So I thought I'll go on, find all the ones within, say, 10, 15 miles of Oundle, and then ring a few of them up or email them and say, have you thought about coming to Oundle? But when I went on, it didn't work. I spoke to them, they said they were having some problems with it, but and please try again later, in a few weeks' time, sort of thing. So I think we need to try again, see if we can get that thing to work. If not, ask them whether there's another way of getting in touch with market traders within a reasonable travelling distance of Oundle who might be interested in coming here. Their answer to that will be, why don't you put an ad on one of the pages in our magazine, which we might consider if there's nothing else working, but a page in their mag is quite expensive. But that's a last resort. We could do that and see if that brings in some traders.
I think the other thing we can do perhaps is promote the market more actively. Okay, we say there's a market, Thursday market on, we do that in electronic signs, do we? Maybe we also say what's in it. You know, buy your cheese and
We
bread.
do that on the signs.
Oh, do we? I haven't read it. I do look at it. Okay.
But yeah, any other ideas would be great.
So should we take it up to comms and marketing? We should do.
I think we'll have to, we'll have to talk there and see if we can come up with some ideas.
Right.
All ideas well.
17.72 to receive a verbal update on progress of marketing brochures for Fletton House and Queen Victoria. And I've only got one pass it round. We should,
I found one spelling mistake.
good.
I proofread it, like you said.
We should say Queen Victoria Hall.
Yeah, it should.
Yeah.
Also, in there, you keep referring to the Grand Hall. I'm not sure if that's the right word.
Oh, the main hall there. Yes, probably not.
It's a big place, this Fletton House, isn't it?
It's like a stately home, isn't it,
Yeah.
in that picture?
Yeah.
Oh,
I was hoping to have one each, actually. We looked around, anyway.
yeah, it's the Queen Victoria Hall. No, I love the colour.
There's some shady characters renting the Cotter stock room these days, I've noticed. Other than that,
I think if you could email that to everybody, they can check it through for their comments.
That's a nice picture, actually.
it is.
There was a previous one I saw, which was mostly the car park in front.
Mm.
It was taken
That was
from
taken
the
from
same
ground level, that's
ground
taken
level.
by
That's
drone,
Tons better,
Yeah.
tons better.
The
Well,
other
the
one
one
was,
in Queen Victoria Hall had a blue car parked outside it, I think it was blue,
yeah.
which has disappeared. It's been
Erased.
zapped.
The other was taken by a colleague of ours who took it from behind a tree, so all you saw was a tree.
Good, excellent. God, it looks very stylish.
Yeah. It's good, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
very stylish.
Mm.
Good, yeah, lovely.
So if we can do the corrections, and maybe if
Ooh, no further.
we can take it to, do we take it to full council this one, or?
Menus.
Oh, I
No,
think
not
they
no,
ought to
no
see it.
further.
Yes,
I didn't.
Yeah,
of course they, yeah. All right, we'll take it to next full council
yeah.
for approval.
Well,
Can't we approve it here?
Yeah.
well, we
It's
can.
in
No,
our-
I
it's
mean,
in
no,
our
I'm not
budget.
saying what I mean is they ought to see it.
Oh, they can see it, we can show it and show them what estates have approved.
Well, the artwork's been paid and approved. What's the next stage we have to approve, Malcolm?
Print.
Do you have a cost for that?
I'll make sure I get one. I did get that quote from the people in Barndale,
Yeah.
Inkwell.
How many are we having printed?
Well, that's the question. We haven't really decided we're going to do it all yet.
Well, a lot of them I'm hoping we'll send by email as PDFs.
But you really need to set up a procedure then of how that's going to be done, who's going to do it.
Mm.
And also,
Oh,
which
yeah,
I've
sorry.
been saying for ages, once they go out,
Yep.
we all need training on how to sell these buildings. when
Yes.
people come,
Yeah.
Yeah,
so that we're all saying the same thing, because it drives me insane. when
we'll
people
get together,
different
we'll do
messages.
that. Make a note that we need a
So
training
that everyone
session.
in our office knows
Yeah.
if someone comes in, this is what they get.
Yep.
Because this is a high spec brochure, they need a
Yeah.
high spec sell when
Yeah.
they come
Yeah.
on the phone.
Yeah, it needs to be Joanna, Lisa, Karen and you all need to know how to sell this.
Yeah.
You all of you need to know, all of you, as you say, everyone in the office needs to know.
Particularly over things like people who say that they're charities and can they have it cheaper?
Yeah.
Those sort of.
Well, the next thing is to obtain,
Okay, I will need new quotes on these because I put in for a different specification, but I don't suppose it'd be that much. I put in for 500, I don't know if that's enough, or 1,000. There's not a huge amount of difference between printing 500 and 1,000, only means leaving the machine on for a bit longer and a
Yeah.
bit of paper.
yeah, it's only the paper cost once you've
Yeah.
got it set up for a run. Yeah,
So I would have thought 1,000 would probably be the...
yeah. Is it still within our budget here? Is it
Yes,
2.5
it will be,
grand?
It will be, well within that,
Yeah, for both, to do both.
yes.
Our budget's 2,000, isn't it?
2,000, yeah.
I think so. I'll check that.
If we're,
but I'm
if we're
pretty sure.
inside that, I think we could go ahead with it tonight and show them at full council and crack on with it, because I'd like to
So
see
do
us.
you want to approve up to 2,000 to print the brochures? Because that would cover you then, wouldn't it?
Yes.
Let's get it done, get them out, get them printed. And
Calling this cost here £629.
Do you want to do up to 1,000 then?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
smashing.
Okay, can I have a
It's 1,000 of
proposer?
each then.
So Malcolm, are you proposing it?
Okay, I'll propose it.
I'll second it.
All those in favour?
Brilliant. Let's get it moving. We need to be getting some corporate bookings in, don't we?
We've got to get a new plan then.
Find something.
Yeah, there's a couple of little bits to do.
We need to proofread.
Yeah.
I'm only going to quick scan through
There's a
it.
bit of proofreading
You
going
can
on.
have that one if
You
you
have
want.
it, yeah.
Yeah, you can have some.
Oh,
Then you can give us your
That's not
comments,
going to help, is it?
volunteered.
I've just highlighted the bit that needs changing.
which is,
I've volunteered you and Clive to proofread
Okay, fine,
chunks
yeah.
of neighbourhood plan,
Okay,
by the way.
yeah.
Um,
One that was menus, I think.
others are looking for other documents and bringing them up to date, but if you can
Yeah.
proofread
Yes,
and make
it's
sure
proofreading.
grammar and,
her English
Spelling
is terrible
and-
actually.
yeah.
And the only other thing I thought was on, might be wrong, you see, Oundle's a beautiful town with open spaces, river, swap it round, Oundle's a beautiful town with historic limestone buildings, river views and open spaces. Why you
Okay.
got open spaces first?
Quite right.
Sound
I
like-
thought that
Well,
when
you
I read it.
just tell me what you want to do and
I
I'll get it
thought that
done.
when I read it.
Was it actually part of a workhouse or was it next to
It
a
was the
workhouse?
infirmary for the workhouse.
Oh, that's what we should say, I would have thought. Originally the infirmary.
Yes, because it's the historic bit again, isn't it?
Someone will pick us up on it, won't they?
Yeah.
Right, and then I need to find these people. There are some firms in Peterborough, there's lots around the country. If I look on an old email of mine, I'll find dozens of them. These firms that do email marketing sell you the lists, so that whatever your business is, they can sell you a list of
Okay, I get it.
potential customers to email to.
Is there a price for that as well?
Yeah, there's a price
Do you
for
know
that.
roughly what that would be?
I'll find out. We'd probably have to take that to full council because I haven't got that figure tonight. They're not hugely expensive.
Right, great.
Right, next item on the agenda is notice of the hub meeting.
Oh, I've got some in front of me. What do I do?
They're just for information.
Yes.
That's the last item. So
That's the last item, apart from any other. Any other, there's no comments on the hub meeting?
No.
No.
Oh, yes, I've got it.
Any comments? No?
no.
Anything you want to draw our attention to?
No. Item 17.72, any other relevant matters to report? Anybody got any other matters?
No, I don't think so.
What was it we were talking about in the office that I said to stick on the? That was this. This is the lift. This is the one quote we've got for repair of the lift. Seems as though everybody takes one look at it and says, why don't you sling it, we can quote you for a new one, but nobody wants to repair the existing one, apart from this one firm who would like £1,180.
By the hands off, I rang. If they can do it for us.
So the question is, Hannika's been trying now for a long time, do we go with one quote and say we can't get any competitive quotes, or what do we do? We really need that lift working. Everybody in there is asking, when is the lift going to work?
As long as it doesn't, you know, they can make sure it doesn't, you can't make sure of course, but they can make it more reliable, or they can make it reliable.
Who installed it and when?
Sorry?
Who installed it and when?
In 2000,
Yeah,
it was installed by an Italian company, Britannica Lifts, who've since been bought out by several other companies.
yeah.
And we gave up on them.
Yeah.
And then when we came to do Fletton, we found this company who were local, because we went out to tender to 4 lift companies, I think. And they're now looking after both Fletton and the courthouse.
I think we take it. I don't think
So
we've
it
got a
doesn't
choice,
sound like
we
we've got any
need
choice, does it?
No.
to know them,
Got
and
it.
we need a reliable lift.
We've got to crack on and get it
And
done.
we can't
haven't we?
wait for it till somebody's trapped in there again. I've been called out under the door once myself.
So we're proposing we accept this quote.
Might be Peter's.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's within our, well within our limit, so
Do you want a proposition? Does it need a proposition when proposed?
I'll second it.
All those in favour?
well done.
Sorry?
Well done, everybody.
Meeting closed at 9:23.